name is Robert Forelli, and I am a cook and a part-time actor and a student of theater and English at Our Lady of the Lake University. I was born in Chillicothe, Ohio. I was 2 months premature, so the minute they took me out of the incubator, I was handed like a football to my mom, and they moved to a small town in western Massachusetts called Lee, Massachusetts. I grew up there, and then I spent some years in upstate New York at Syracuse University, where I majored in film, minored in drama, and also minored in English. I first got into acting when I was in 5th grade. I had an English teacher who was my 4th grade English teacher, and he wanted to do a play called The Beanstalk and Jack, and it was a children's version of Jack and the Beanstalk. And so I got cast as a part of Jack, and I was really surprised. And so that was the first time I got the thrill of performing live, because it was in front of the whole elementary school. Then I was sent to a private school. It was always like my parents had to punish me because I was having too much fun in public school. So I went to a private school for 2 years in 8th and 9th grade. And while I was doing a play in 9th grade at the private school, the same teacher from public school asked me to be in the high school play. So I was in a play where I wasn't even attending the school. And it was the same director. William Polidoro was his name. He was absolutely the most inspiring person to me in terms of his personality, in terms of his love of English, and I was able to collaborate with him all my years through high school. So from 9th grade to being a senior in 12th grade, I was in every production, and that really made me realize that it was something I could do. Every time I've done this, every time I perform, I go through my goalie, the stretches I used to do as a goaltender in hockey. And people thought that I was like doing some kind of method thing, but it's just to get me, it's just to get, so I can relax. If you ever see the end of Raging Bull, there's a scene where De Niro is about to go on, and he does this thing where he's does like an old boxing warm-up before he acts, and then maybe that was what I saw. I saw that back in college, and I thought, but now I just do it because just to shake off on nerves or something. Say, si, si, so, su, de, di, di, do, di, ma.
So don't drop your drinks. Mouth slightly open. So you take advantage, exploit every stretch you can here. And then reverse. You follow me with your eyes, so bigger. Look. Yeah, that's it. That's the stretch. I need unique New York, unique New York. I need I need unique New York, unique New York. I need Okay, one more. Do you know that one?
One diving duck.
One
diving duck. 2 clucking chickens.
2 clucking chickens.
3 gaggling geese. 3 gaggling geese. 9 dank, dark denizens of the deep.
9 dank, dark denizens of the deep.
Who roll and stroll. In the quark of the quay of the quivy.
in the quark of the quake of the quivy.
10 Zen.
10 Zen. Okay.
Can't imagine taking that kind of a risk.
It's not a risk if you have faith. And he did. A deep, abiding faith.
Providence guides and directs everything, the good and the bad, consolations and afflictions. Everything comes from his fatherly hands, and everything must tend to his glory and to our sanctification if we accept it as coming from him and we use it for the purpose he sends to us. But what I think will inform playing Moy is the Malala Yousafzai's father, because Yousafzai's father opened a school for girls in Pakistan, and she's the one who was shot by the Taliban. And also girls who possess a zeal and courage above their sex. And so, to do research, I'm going to go to Mass, which is first, and I'm going to watch that film about him, because I think he's basically in a similar context in that society doesn't think that women deserve to be educated, and that's what Father Moy promoted in the 1700s. When I went to Los Angeles, a friend of mine who was also in my film class, but we never collaborated together. It was the first time I ever collaborated with my friend Aaron Osborne. We wrote a play together called The Acid Whorehouse, and it's about the CIA's MK Ultra program in San Francisco in the 50s. We love the idea of LSD being this kind of Pandora's box, but knowing that everyone in the audience knew what LSD became in the 60s and 70s, but we were writing about it in the 50s. So we made it like we tried to make it like a comedy. I was lucky enough I did a play in 2000 with a woman, Jane Lynch. She was the main character, and she was brilliant. And we did this show called Waiting for Iggy, where she plays a hippie mom, and we did it with her for 2 weeks, and then we did it with her understudy for 2 weeks. And her 2 weeks, she got so many laughs that were not present in the second 2 weeks that we realized Jane's really good. When I read her biography, which was kind of inspired, it was when I was doing Bent. I was reading her biography. She talked about how much she worked. That's really one of the main reasons why I came back to school, was to treat acting like a job instead of treating it like, oh, you're talented and you just do it and then people give you work. Think of it as something that you really have to practice, like almost like an athlete. So I did a small part here in San Antonio for Martin Sherman's Bent. That really made me appreciate the difference of theater acting. There was a time in 1994 when I was able to do a whole bunch of friends from Syracuse that were in my film class were doing their first films. So I got to be in like four different films at the same year.
This whole thing is my fault. Let me get in there and I'll tackle him. No!
So I was in a film called Young Teamsters in New York City. And then I did Cage T 3000 for Roger Corman.
Yeah, if you see Commissioner Dillon, be sure to give him my regrets on his election campaign.
He will have other chances.
Yeah, right.
I won't lie to you. It's one hell of a good thing to get you gone.
One hell of a good thing to be going.
Oh, I did a film called Hideous Puppets, which was a bunch of actors doing their first film.
My name is Officer Tennant. If you like, you can call me Lou.
Thanks, Lou.
My opinion of acting completely changed because before actually doing it, I was pretty liberal with criticizing, so and so is an awful actor, or this guy sucks, or after actually having to do it, where I had to like stop on my mark and use my lines and say what I needed to say, and I'd do a scene and it wouldn't look very good, but it's on film, so you get to watch it the rest of your life that way. It really made me change my view of what good acting is and the craft of acting. Writing something I've always done in terms of, I always had a journal as a kid. I'd almost make it like a fiction project when I wrote somebody a letter, so people liked getting letters from me. It was how I kind of learned my voice as a writer. What I basically wrote about was what the last moments of my cat in my apartment, where she, I was in a really hopeful mood because I was finally going to take her to the vet, and of course I had no idea what was going to happen, but I remember talking to her as if she was another person and encouraging her that we were going to be okay and that we were getting stuff done and we're going to be able to, she'll be able to see a doctor. She had chronic kidney disease. And so the interesting thing about her was she gave me little signals about that her time was limited, because she did things like she would never get out of my lap. The last night that we were together, she let me bathe her, and she relaxed in the tub. She hadn't relaxed before, and she let me comb her with a hair comb. She wasn't surprised that morning by the stove, but circled, expecting I might creak the door towards her. Perhaps she'd crawl to wedge herself between the pots and lids for safety's sake, to hide there for its warmth. She didn't sit beside me, quiet in the doorway, prayerful as vigil, expecting I might feed her as I cracked open a fresh brick of coffee that morning by the stove. Instead, she returned to the center of the bed, legs splayed, preening her belly and the end of her tail. I brought food to her, and she licked at it for courtesy, and drank 2 teaspoons of water to show me how well she'd become. With that, I lifted her, encouraging we'd find some answers and what I could do to make her comfortable. Her wrists and ankles frail between my thumb and forefinger as I placed her in the carrier that sits empty now beneath my desk, facing the wall. I realized this after it happened, was she meant for me to give her for me to think that her last moments were really good. She looked really great at the end, and I think it was because she wanted that to be my last thoughts with her, and because moments before I came to pick her up at the vet's, no one had mentioned anything about her condition, and I just went to check her. So I took the carrier into the room, and she'd just gone. She literally passed away moments before I got there, and I think that was intended. Anyway, let's see if the cat comes out. She should come out today. There she is. She's sleeping. Hey, sweetie. Hey, lady girl. She looks like my old cat, my first cat. Come here. Come here. She doesn't let anybody touch her. What do you think? What are you thinking? Oh. Come here. I will chase you down. I'd like to be a working character actor. Or another thing I would love to do is I'd love to be the Bill Polidoro to some other kid else. Be a theater teacher. Teaching kids would be great. Intellectually, I love the research. Like, my mom is a therapist, and I know that it's that side of me that loves acting, is empathy. It's because you're really trying to imagine yourself inside someone else's shoes, literally. And so, but like an athlete or a musician, you practice and you practice. It's like practicing scales. You do the scales, you do the scales, you do the scales, so that when it comes down to performing, you don't know what's going to happen. You have to throw everything out. So you prepare everything for it to be completely spontaneous. And that's what makes it really exciting.